Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening all. Welcome back to Swaroop IT Learning Solutions. So in this particular video series, we will continue to learn installing, configuring and managing VMware Hypervisor vSphere Infrastructure version 8. So up to this point, we have already covered following topics for providing internet connectivity to VMware vSphere Windows 11 CL nested VM. So which topics we have already covered for internet connectivity? We have already seen through ESXi vCenter virtual distribution switch port group option GUI mode. Then the same option through ESXi vCenter virtual distribution switch port group through Power CLI option. And third option we have covered through Windows proxy, that is RRAS plus NAT GUI option. Now the next option in the upcoming module we will see through Windows proxy only RRAS plus NAT option through PowerShell. So the previous option we have seen how to do it through GUI mode. Now we will see how to do it through PowerShell mode. Okay. So we are continuing to learn this particular configuration. Now in this particular video series we will learn the following topics: providing internet connectivity to Windows 11 CL nested VM through RRAS plus NAT via PowerShell module or via PowerShell commands. Now this particular module steps including are RRAS rule installation, then routing and IP forwarding and enablement of both internal and external network connectivity. Third option will be NAT enablement and configuration in Windows 2022 proxy system. And the last one is, of course, checking the internet connectivity on Windows 11 CL VM. Now, apart from the fourth option, all three first options we will be doing through PowerShell, as I said earlier. Okay. So let's start. Now this particular diagram I will not again explain in detail. I have explained it in a previous module. So it's the same thing: internet connectivity, physical NIC, then your virtual adapter which is connected to your Windows 2022 proxy, then NAT connectivity, and that NAT connectivity, through that NAT connectivity we will be providing Windows 11 CL nested VM internet connectivity. Okay, so the detailed explanation I have already given in the previous module. If you want to listen to it, you can again go back to that video and listen to the detailed explanation. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So to save the time, I have already completed some of these steps. So which steps I have completed, I will just tell you. So I have already powered off all the VMs previously in following order: Windows 11 CL nested VM, which is hosted by ESX002, then vCenter server nested VM, which is hosted by ESX001, then ESX002 also, and then ESX001 also, and lastly Windows 2022 DC VMs also I have powered off. This step is already completed. Next is I have already configured the VMNet network adapter, which is bridge to my physical NIC, and invariably it will have a internet connectivity also. So this step also I have already configured. I will not again show you how to do that because I have shown you number of times in my previous videos. So let's move on to the next step. So next step is we have to start our main VMs again, uh, like Windows 2022 DC, ESX001, ESX002, and your vCenter server nested VM. So to save the time, I have already started all those VMs, as you can see from my VMware console, VMware workstation console. All the VMs have already been started. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So next step is through VMware Workstation we have to create a new virtual machine with following configuration. So VM name will be Windows 2022 proxy, OS will be Windows 2022 server, RAM will be 10 GB, then HDD will be 100 GB network adapter will be 1 VM net internal, and IP will be 10.11.151, that is a static IP. So this particular step also I have already configured. I have created this Windows 2022 proxy server, which is actually a Windows 2022 server, and I have configured it with the recommended settings like 10 GB RAM, 100 GB hard disk, and one network adapter custom VMnet 1. So this is also completed. Now I'm not going into detail of those steps because all those steps we have already completed in the previous module also. So all those common steps I have already completed to save the timing of our overall video. Okay, so let me just take the RDP of this machine so that we will have a better view for the next step. So this is my Windows 2022 proxy system. Okay, you can see over here the device name is Windows 2022 proxy. Okay, it is having 10 GB of RAM, and it is having Windows 2022 server as an OS. Okay, let's move on to the next step. Before moving on to the next step, I will just show you. Now I have already configured this VM with my Windows 2022 OS also. So this step is also completed, and I have joined this machine to my existing domain also, as you can see over here. It is joined to my esxlab.local. So this step is also completed, and currently I have logged in with my esxadmin account also. Okay, I have joined the domain. I have logged in with my esxadmin account also, right, through RDP. Okay, just to confirm, I will just open the CMD and you can see esxadmin. Okay, so this is also completed. Now the next step is we need to add our esxadmin account in local administrator group. I think that is also been completed, but let's verify it. Go to computer management, local users and groups administrator, and you can see esxadmin is already added. So this step is also completed. Now to save the time, I have already completed those 8 to 10 steps. Okay, the next step is we need to add the second adapter as custom VMnet to provide the internet connectivity to our Windows 2022 proxy server. So I have already completed that step also. If I'm going to the settings of this machine, and network adapter, second network adapter is already added, custom VMnet 0, right? Why I'm not repeating all those steps? Because these steps are already shown you in detail in the previous video. If you want to see those steps, you can refer to my previous video. Okay, and the next step is start the Windows 2022 proxy VM. That is also done. Currently it is online, and we have taken the remote also of this machine. Now we will actually start our practicals. Okay, now next is we need to give the static IP to our Windows 2022 proxy, which IP range is connected to internet. Okay, so the static IP will be 192.168.1.151. Subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0. Default gateway will be 192.168.1.1, and our DNS will be our ISP DNS. Okay, so I'm just completing that step now on this machine. Okay, I have already explained you why we required a static IP, because we will be using this machine as a static proxy. So it is recommended to have a static IP. Although it has got the DHCP IP from our ISP router, although it is connected to our internet currently, you can see over here internet access, but still we will be giving a static IP. So I'm just entering the static IP 192.168.1.151. Subnet mask, it will automatically take. Default gateway will be my router IP, and DNS I will give my DNS of ISP. Now for security purpose I cannot show you those ISP DNS, so I'm just pausing this video, and once this network connection is configuration is completed, I will come back to you with the next step. Alright, so I have finished my static IP configuration on Windows 2022 proxy server. So let's move on to the next step. So restart the Windows 2022 proxy VM once. So I have already restarted that VM also once, just to make sure that your IP configuration reflects properly after the restart. So this step is also completed. Okay. Next step, we need to verify after the restart whether we are still having a proper internet access or not on Windows 2022 proxy system. So I will go back to my proxy, which I have taken the RDP, and first maximize. I will go back to the network settings, change adapter options. Here I will just change this view to detail, and you can see over here my Ethernet 1 is having internet access. Okay, so after the static IP also I am having a proper internet access. Now let's move on to the next step. So next step is through Windows 2022 proxy PowerShell admin mode, run following two commands to install remote access and routing features, one after each other, and restart Windows 2022 proxy system once. Okay, now we are actually installing our remote access server and NAT feature through PowerShell. So the first command will be install Windows feature name remote access include management tools, and second command will be install Windows feature name routing include management tools. Now remote access and routing are two different features which needs to be installed via two different commands through PowerShell, but through GUI it is one feature only. It is asking us to add the features, if you remember in the previous module, but no problem, we will enter those two commands over here. So I will go back to my PPT, and I will just copy the first command, and I will go back to my proxy system, close this, open your PowerShell ISC. First I will pin to taskbar, just to make sure that we don't have to open it again and again. I will right click it, run as administrator, run. And since this is a fresh OS, the first command we need to set is to set our PowerShell execution policy. This step is not included in PPT, but it's a normal practice. Set execution policy, again execution policy unrestricted. This will make sure that all our commands and scripts will run without any policy restriction. Say yes to all. So this is fine. Now we will go for the first command. So what is the first command? Install Windows feature name remote access include management tools. Enter. So it will install that feature in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. After this feature installation, we need to install one more feature through another command. Okay, now you can see the first remote access feature has been installed. Exit code success. Now let's move on to our PPT, and the next command we need to run to install our routing feature also. So I will come back to my PPT and I will copy the second command also. Same thing, enter. So this will install our routing feature. First command remote access server, second command routing feature. Okay, and after these two commands, although it is not asking, but we will restart our system. Okay, so restart your Windows 2022 proxy system once. Just a normal practice. Whenever you are doing any major changes to Windows system, it is always advisable to restart your system once, even if it is not asking. Okay, so the second feature is also installed correctly. Now we will reboot our system. So I will exit from here and restart. By the time it is restarting, let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to identify our internal and external connectivity NICs, and we need to rename them for better understanding. Why we need to rename them? Because we will be using those naming conventions in the next PowerShell commands. So we will be renaming our internal connectivity as INT and external connectivity adapter as an EXT. So first let's take the RDP. And now I will go to my network adapter properties. Change adapter options. You can see over here the internet access one is an external NIC and the first one is internal. So I will rename it INT EXT just for a better naming convention understanding. Okay, so both adapters have been renamed. Now let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to again one more time verify whether our connections are up and running. So we need to run the command as get net adapter. Okay, so let's do that just for one more time verification. I will open my PowerShell with the admin mode. Here I am just entering the command. And you can see both the adapters are showing the link status is up. Okay, now let's move on to the next step. So before that, there is a note. We will use these network adapters names in later PowerShell commands as I told you earlier. So next step is we need to continue on Windows 2022 proxy PowerShell admin mode. We need to run two commands to enable IP forwarding on both network interfaces. So what are those commands? So the command 4 will be set net IP interface alias INT that we have renamed, forwarding enable, and same thing set net IP interface alias external, forwarding enable. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just copying those command one by one, and I'm pasting on my Windows 2022 proxy PowerShell session. Okay, now important thing to note over here is this naming convention should be correct. Okay, if it is different it will give error. Now this has been done. Now I will just go back here and just change the second adapter as a ext. Okay, enter. So now both network adapters forwarding, IP forwarding has been enabled through PowerShell, right? Now let's move on to the next step. Now next step is we need to create a NAT interface. Okay, so continuing on the same PowerShell session through Windows 2000 proxy, we need to run the following command. So what will be our command? New net NAT, then name will be ESX lab NAT, internal IP interface address is 10.11.0/24. So whichever IP which is starting from 10.11 and then X, that subnet will have our NAT enabled. Okay, so I will just copy this command and I will go back to my proxy, paste this command and enter. Okay, so you can see over here this NAT interface has been created. This is a subnet and other properties of this NAT interface. Okay, now it may be having an impression for you guys that it's a very straightforward and easy procedure, but believe me, I have already prepared all those commands many times. I have just practiced it, nullifying all the errors and all. Anyways, so let's move on to the next step. Now since we have created our NAT interface, now we need to start our Windows 11 CL, but I thought why not to use any new feature or learn any new feature for starting our Windows 11 CL. Now it's a very easy procedure to start any virtual machine through vCenter. Just right click power and start the virtual machine, but here I am just showing you a different way. So through ESXi host command prompt we will start our Windows 11 CL. So the next step will be through ESX host 02 through which our Windows 11 CL is getting hosted, SSH session, and then through that first we need to get the VM ID of our Windows 11 CL. Why VM ID? Every VM which has been hosted by your ESX host will have its own unique VM ID. Now using that VM ID we can power on or power off that particular VM. So for getting that VM ID first we need to run the following command. What is the command? vim cmd vmsvc get all VMs. Okay, so what I will do is I will come back to my PPT and first I will copy this command and now I will go back to my DC system and now through my DC system I will open my putty session. First give the IP of ESX002 Connect with root credentials. Just clearing the screen, and now I'm pasting that command, wims -cmd vmsvc get all VMs. Now what this command does is, whatever the VMs are getting hosted, whichever ones are there, it will list down all the VMs. Currently we are having only one VM, but suppose we are having multiple VMs on particular ESX host, then every VM will have its own CMD or VM ID, right? So I will enter this command now, and you can see it is hosting only one VM. That's why it is showing only one VM. The VM ID is 1. Okay, this we need to just note down. Okay, now let's move on to the next step. So we have already noted down the Windows 11 CL VM ID, which is 1, correct? So next step is, now we need to start our Windows 11 CL VM through ESX host SSH session. So we need to run the command. What is the command? WIN11CL VM power on 1. 1 means the VM ID of our Windows 11 CL VM. Okay, so I will copy this command and just pasting it, enter. So you can see over here it is showing powering on the VM. Okay, so just to reconfirm, what we will do is we will go back to our ESX host web UI, and you can see it is starting our virtual machine. Same way you can confirm it through VCSA console also. So anyways it will start by any which ways. Okay, so currently it is booting up. Okay, so this is a new way through which you can start your VM, okay, through ESX host command prompt also. Okay, let's close it down. Now let's move on to the next step. Now next step is through Windows 11 CL VM, set the network configuration as follows. So here we need to change the two parameters, default gateway 10.1.1.151, and your DNS will be ISP DNS once. Okay, so what I will do is, first of all I will go back to my main machine and I will try to take the RDP of my Windows 11 CL machine. Okay, so it will take some time. It's loaded now, so let's continue. Here I will go to the network configuration. Here go to the change adapter settings. Here I will go to the properties of it, remove your IP6. IP4, it is currently taking default gateway as my DC, but I need to change it to my Win2022 proxy because I need to give the internet connectivity over here. Okay, this is the first change. Okay, second change will be, I need to give the ISP DNS servers over here. So for security purpose I cannot show you those ISP DNS names. So I will enter this, I will complete this network configuration, and I will come back to you with the next step. Alright, so I have completed my network configuration, and you can see over here immediately after the network configuration it is showing the internet access. Okay, so I will close this one. So we have completed our this step. So next step will be we need to browse any internet public site just to make confirm that our internet connectivity is working fine. So what I'm doing is I'm just installing one browser, Mozilla Firefox, and through that we will just try to browse any public site. Okay, so I'm just pausing this video for 2 minutes, coming back with you with the next step. Alright, so I have installed my browser. So let's open that browser, and now you can see already the network feeds are started showing up. So the internet should work. So I will just open normal Google and then your normal site. And click on that site, it should open your vmware.com site, and this means our internet connectivity is working on Windows 11 CL nested VM. Okay, so this will be our final confirmation. Okay, so the last step over here, finally through ESX0402 putty SSS session power off Windows 11 CL VM through following command. So same command we will be using, but before that we will close this one. We will sign out from here, RDP session. Okay, now let's come back to our PPT, and what is the command we need to run over here? vimcmd vmsvc power dot off 1. Okay, through our SSH session of our ESX host 02 VM, sorry, 2 host ESX host 02. So here we are already on a SSH session. I'm just entering it. Just make this on to off. That's it. You can see powering off the virtual machine. And now you can see the virtual machine is powered off. As simple as that. Okay, so this completes our PowerShell module of providing the internet connectivity to our nested VM. Okay. So thank you all for watching this particular video and giving your time. This is your host signing off from Sarup IT Solutions. If you like this particular video, please share with your IT colleagues and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again. Have a good day.